Hi there, it's Dylan from EatWild, and today I'm going to show you a short video on how we get a deer from the hillside that we're hunting back down to the truck. And we're going to show you how to do the old rope and stick method to tow a deer down the hill. And I'll show you how to do that now. So I was really fortunate. I was coming back actually towards the truck along the hillside from my hunt this morning, and we ran into this beautiful mule deer, and very fortunate to get a good clean shot on him. And we're not too far from the truck, and fortunately, if you look down over here, our truck's about maybe 500 meters down the hill from here. And good news for us, it's downhill, so we'll be able to tow this mule deer down the hill. This deer is probably about 180 pounds right now, so I'm guessing it would be very difficult to tow him even on a flat, or certainly would be almost impossible to tow him uphill. In a situation that we had shot him and he was downhill from the road or the vehicle, I would use our boning out method and then pack him up the hill, up and over the hill. But today we'll show you how we tow him down the hill. Now this is pretty straightforward. I always bring about a 12-foot length of rope with me, and I double it over so that it's nice and strong. And I'll wrap around his antlers, around the base of his antlers, doubled over. I'll pull the two ends to the loop there. And now I've got the two ends coming this way. I've searched around for a nice tough stick, one that's got a little bit of elasticity left in it. It's not going to snap on me. If you have a little saw, you can cut down a young tree or a branch, but I don't bother packing a saw around because I usually can find a stick, especially when I'm hunting somewhere like this. Then what I do is I just wrap my rope around my stick, and what I'll do is one good wrap, and then I always do a bowline because I'm going to put a lot of stress on this knot, and I want to be able to untie the knot when I get back to the truck or camp. So I'll just do a quick bowline and down and around. Okay, and so I've given it a wrap here so it won't slip back and forth, and I've got a bowline here so I can undo that. Now before I get going, I'm just going to show you a couple things that I think about before I go. Okay, so before I get towing down the hill, I'm going to wind up exerting myself quite a bit. It's quite a lot of work to pull the animal down the hill. So I want to make sure that all my gear is, well, first of all, I've taken off my jacket and a couple layers. I'm going to take like my binoculars up that are normally flopping up against my chest. I'm going to wrap them up and throw them in the bottom of my bag and zip it up. The other thing I'm going to make sure is that my firearm's unloaded, okay? And what I'll do is I'll strap my gun to my bag because I don't need my gun anymore, and I want to make sure it's secure and put away. So I'm almost ready to get going here. Now, after you shoot a deer, it's always a really exciting time. You've got a lot of adrenaline, and of course you get down to gutting it and whatnot. And I leave stuff around. So before you take off, it's important to just have a quick scan to make sure you haven't left your knife or your sharpener or any bits and pieces of your kit. And always, the first thing you should always do is make sure you've cut your tag before you even start dealing with the animal. So I do my little mental check before I go. I've got all my gear, I've cut my tag, and I'm ready to go down towards towing the deer towards the truck. Okay, so I've got a couple techniques for how I'm going to move this deer. There's the old rowing technique, where you just do a couple feet at a time, and just carefully get good footing as you go down, and give it a little tug as you go. It's really great. There's a little bit of snow on the ground that helps a tremendous amount. Once you can see a nice clear path that you can see going down, you can always turn around. Okay, so you notice there when I started taking off down the steeper slope that the deer starts almost chasing after you. And of course, with a deer with antlers like this, it can cause a lot of damage. It can actually ram you in the back of the leg. So you got to make sure that you're sort of clear of the fall line of the deer, especially once you get rolling. If you're on a real steep slope and you have a buddy to help you out, you can always tie a rope off to one of the back legs, and then your buddy can take a rope and a stick and basically pull back a little bit so the deer doesn't carry on at too much momentum and get ahead of you. So I'll just carry on here, and so far so good, and if I need some help, I'll ask for the photographer's help. So I like to keep my rope lengths fairly short because you need to lift the head up over a lot of stuff and be able to direct it down and through stuff. It's going to keep cruising along down through here and see how it goes. I've got the deer back to the truck, and where I towed the deer down to a little berm next to the road, so I could back my truck up to the berm, and I don't have to lift the deer all the way up and into the truck to 4 feet. So hopefully I'll be able to slide it in here. Wrap it up a little bit. Okay, so I've got the deer back to the truck, managed to load it in the back of the truck, and I'm ready to go back to camp. So I'm going to go home and we're back to camp and put it up in a meat pool and clean it up. And yeah, it's been a great hunt. So just to review a couple of safety things around towing your deer down the hill. Number one is you want to make sure that you got good footing. Every time you put your feet down and you're pulling on the deer, make sure you got good footing. Because if you slip and go down and that deer comes over top of you, you could be into a lot of trouble. The other thing is when you're coming downhill, make sure you're well clear of the fall line of the deer if it wants to get going. And the other thing is when you're towing a deer down a hill, it's a little bit like skiing. You want to kind of see where you're going to tow that deer down through the trees before you start skiing your line. What you're trying to avoid is those big blowdowns, those thickets and stuff that it's going to be difficult to tow your deer through. So you'll notice in some of the shots that I'm always sort of picking a line where it's relatively clear. And then it's always helpful if you've got a buddy to kind of scout a route ahead of you so that you can avoid going down into gullies full of blowdown and whatnot. Anyways, this turned out to be a great little tow down a hill. It took us about half an hour, and hopefully there was something here that you can learn from and take on your next hunting adventure. See you next time from EatWild.